Hi everyone, my name is Apuraj Garakapati. Welcome to my YouTube channel Amazing Apai. Before we introduce another acronym, let us continue the story from the earlier topics. We already learned that the IOCDS is the map the machine actually uses to understand its I/O world. But now imagine managing many large buildings, each with its own elevators, rooms, locked areas, delivery routes, and safety rules. You would not want to edit every final building map directly with no workspace, no review area, and no way to compare related buildings. That is where the IODF enters the story. It is the working container used by IOCDS to manage the definitions that can later become an activated IOCDS. In simple words, the IODF is where people safely organize and prepare the configuration before it becomes the live map. A beginner usually asks a fair question here. If we already have the IOCDS, why do we need another file at all? Think about writing a final exam answer in pen. You could write directly on the final paper, but one mistake can become messy very quickly. A safer approach is to use a notebook first. You draft the answer, check it, correct it, and only then copy the clean result to the final sheet. The IODF plays a similar role in large Z environments. It gives the configuration team a structured place to work before the definitions are generated into the IOCDS that the hardware will actually use. The IODF stands for Input-Output Definition File. It is a structured dataset used by IOCDS. Instead of thinking of it as the final active map, think of it as a managed folder that can hold configuration definitions for one or more Z systems. This is useful because enterprise environments rarely behave like one small isolated machine. They often have multiple systems, shared relationships, coupling links, channel definitions, and device definitions that must stay consistent. The IODF gives the team one organized place to manage all of those definitions before creating the IOCDS. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. Inside the IODF, each system can be represented as a processor definition. Imagine a property management office that keeps separate folders for Building A, Building B, Building C, and a shared services building. Each folder describes the rooms, access paths, equipment, and connections for that specific building. The IODF works in a similar way. One IODF can contain multiple processor definitions, and each processor definition can contain the full configuration needed for that specific Z system. This makes the IODF valuable when several systems need to be managed together instead of one at a time. IOCDS is the tool that works with the IODF. The story is simple. A configuration person opens a work version of the IODF, makes changes, validates the definitions, and then promotes the clean version when it is ready. After that, the required IOCDS can be generated and activated for the target system. This is much safer than manually editing a final runtime map every time a change is needed. It is like updating a city traffic plan in a planning office, reviewing the detours, checking bridges and intersections, and only then publishing the official roadmap. The work and production idea is one of the most important reasons the IODF exists. A work IODF is where edits happen. It is the workshop. Mistakes can be found and corrected there. A production IODF represents the approved configuration that should match what is intended for real use. Think of a restaurant menu. The chef may test new recipes in the kitchen, but customers should only see the approved menu. The work IODF is the kitchen. The production IODF is the approved menu. This separation helps reduce risk when dealing with important I/O configuration changes. Before we move ahead, please take a second to share on this video. Sharing helps this video reach friends who may also enjoy anime, gaming, travel, cricket, chess, career basics, or personal stories. Your support helps Amazing Apai grow naturally. The IODF becomes especially helpful when the environment grows. A small setup might be manageable with direct files and careful manual review, but when multiple Z systems, many logical partitions, shared paths, coupling connections, and many devices are involved, manual tracking becomes dangerous. The IODF lets IOCDS see more of the environment and check relationships that cross system boundaries. It is similar to air traffic control. A single pilot may know one flight path, but air traffic control needs to see many flights at once to prevent conflicts and keep everything moving safely. The IODF and the IOCDS are related, but they are not the same thing. The IODF is the managed workspace used by IOCDS. The IOCDS is the configuration map loaded into the hardware. A helpful comparison is a design file and a printed blueprint. The architect works in the design file because it is easier to revise, review, and validate. The construction crew follows the approved blueprint. In this architecture, IOCDS works with the IODF, and the final generated IOCDS is what the machine uses during activation. There are situations where a standalone IOCDS can still make sense. It gives direct control and may be useful in simpler environments, smaller setups, or environments where the IOCDS workflow is not the main approach. But for larger managed environments, the IODF through IOCDS gives structure, validation, cross-system awareness, and a safer work-to-production process. The choice is less about which one is real, because the hardware ultimately uses an IOCDS either way. The choice is about how humans want to manage the definitions before that final map is activated. Before we move ahead, please take a second to like on this video. A like tells me that you enjoyed this topic. Your support helps Amazing API grow naturally. A common beginner mistake is thinking the IODF is loaded directly by the machine as the live hardware configuration. That is not the right mental model. The IODF is the managed source used by IOCDS. From that source, the needed IOCDS is generated for activation. Think of the IODF as the recipe book and the IOCDS as the specific meal prepared from that recipe. The machine does not eat the entire recipe book. It uses the final prepared configuration that came from it. A useful way to remember the relationship is to think of a map factory. The IODF is the factory workspace where many maps can be designed, reviewed, and stored. IOCDS is the team and the machinery inside that factory. The IOCDS is the printed map that gets delivered to the machine. Once the machine starts using that map, it follows what is written there. This mental model keeps the roles clear and prevents confusion when later topics introduce IOCP, IOCDS, and the broader configuration workflow. The key takeaway is simple. The IODF is the management layer, not the live hardware map itself. It gives people a safer and more organized way to manage one or many Z system definitions. It supports work and production versions, helps IOCDS validate relationships, and allows larger environments to be handled with less manual risk. The IOCDS is still the final map the hardware uses, but the IODF is often where that map is carefully created and maintained. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to Amazing API. Subscribing makes sure you do not miss the next video, and it gives me motivation to keep improving the quality of every upload. Thank you for being here, and I will see you in the next one.